Brace yourself, because this isn't gossip or tabloid chatter. This comes straight from Buckingham Palace, the very core of the British monarchy, finally breaking its silence after years of calculated stillness. For a long time, the world has whispered about Meghan and Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet. Were they truly royal heirs? Why were they never seen as publicly as William and Kate's kids? Why did the palace always stay silent? The questions kept stacking up. The rumors grew. And yet the crown said nothing. Until now. When the palace finally acted, it didn't bother with press conferences or interviews. It didn't make emotional statements or appeal to sympathy. Instead, it used its sharpest weapon: paperwork. Legal, constitutional, final. Documents that speak louder than any royal announcement ever could. Sources close to the palace confirm that the documents are already prepared. These aren't drafts or internal memos. They are final orders, binding and irreversible, set to permanently redefine Archie and Lilibet's royal status. The message within them is simple but ruthless. Their claim to royal identity has been erased. This isn't a family disagreement or a feud over affection. It's about law, lineage, and the iron framework of monarchy. To understand why this move happened, you have to go back more than a century, to the man who wrote the monarchy's modern rulebook. The year was 1917. Europe was at war, and the royal family faced growing pressure to preserve its bloodline from political danger and public confusion. King George V, realizing the risk, issued a historic declaration known as the Letters Patent. It wasn't an emotional plea, it was a legal statement. Dry, detailed, and deliberate. But within those pages lay the foundation that would shape royal identity for generations. The rules were crystal clear. To be called prince or princess, a child had to meet 3 requirements. They must be born of legitimate royal blood. Their birth must be formally recognized and recorded by the crown. And they must be baptized and connected to the Church of England. No shortcuts, no exceptions. For decades, this law kept the monarchy's structure intact. Titles weren't handed out like favors. They were earned through bloodline and procedure. It was this system that maintained the purity of succession and the clarity of rank. But when the crown examined Archie and Lilibet, it reportedly found gaps, inconsistencies in their records, questions about the church connection, and details that simply didn't align. None of it was their fault, yet the monarchy couldn't overlook it. The moment they were born, a clock began ticking quietly in the background, counting down to the day the system would act. And now, that moment has arrived. Every secret, no matter how deeply buried, eventually surfaces, and the walls around Meghan Markle are starting to shake. According to sources close to the matter, the woman who allegedly carried Meghan and Harry's youngest child, the woman who is supposed to remain invisible, is finally speaking. And what she claims could change everything. Her words, if true, threaten to unravel one of the most closely guarded stories in modern royal history. The allegation that Prince Harry may not be the biological father of Lilibet Diana. Behind the glamorous interviews and polished PR, something darker appears to be surfacing. A chain of concealed documents, quiet financial transactions, and a truth the monarchy may have quietly suspected for years. Meghan's real fear, insiders say, isn't exposure. It's losing control of the narrative she spent years building. According to those same insiders, the silence didn't break because of guilt or regret. It broke because of money. The surrogate allegedly never received her final payment. The sum, according to whispers, was disguised through creative accounting, hidden under a California foundation, perhaps labeled as donations or business expenses. Meghan's legal team, it said, worked frantically to hide every trace of it. The last thing they wanted was a direct link between Meghan's name and surrogate compensation, not when the image of a natural royal birth was central to their brand. But the woman wasn't as naive as they thought. She reportedly documented everything, every conversation, every transfer, even recorded phone calls from someone in Meghan's legal circle urging her to stay silent. And for a long time, she did, until now. Those close to her claim she isn't seeking fame, only fairness, the payment she was promised. But her decision to speak has sparked a ripple effect. People who've worked with Meghan before, in business, media, and legal circles, have started noticing familiar patterns: sudden disappearances, incomplete deals, and strict non-disclosure orders. If true, this would mean Meghan didn't just control her story. She controlled everyone within it. Now, let's rewind to a key detail many overlooked: Prince Harry's own words in his memoir, Spare. Harry described Meghan's birth experience in vivid detail, claiming she had 2 epidurals during labor. Add 2 epidurals into that window, and the story collapses completely. Anyone who's been through it knows. You can't even stand, let alone leave, right after. It takes hours for the anesthesia to wear off, vitals to stabilize, and blood pressure to normalize. And if, as rumored, Meghan suffered from high blood pressure or preeclampsia, as Harry himself hinted, she would not have been discharged the same day, let alone within hours. Doctors describe it as one of the most dangerous pregnancy complications, requiring continuous monitoring, magnesium sulfate, and strict observation. It's not a situation that ends with scented candles and a wellness setup. Yet that's exactly how Harry described it: candles, birthing balls, spa-like calm. A description doctors say doesn't align with a high-risk labor. Sources from within the Portland hospital insist that no patient flagged as high risk would ever be allowed a spa birth environment. It's simply against protocol. Every available record, medical or circumstantial, points toward one conclusion: something in the story doesn't add up. For years, Meghan and Harry built their image as the royal outsiders, the couple who defied palace rules, told their truth, and made their own path. Interviews, documentaries, deals, all of it built on the identity of being royal rebels. But here's the reality the Crown never said out loud: you can't be a royal rebel once the Crown erases your royal claim. The palace understood this perfectly. It didn't respond to every scandal or statement. It didn't play Meghan's media game. It waited. And when the timing was right, it acted. Quietly, surgically, with the stroke of a pen. By removing titles, revising succession rights, and sealing the matter through legal orders, the monarchy made its message clear. Archie and Lilibet are no longer royal heirs. This wasn't vengeance. It was preservation. The Crown chose legacy over emotion. Continuity over chaos. Now Archie and Lilibet will grow up in California, far from the pomp of palaces and the weight of crowns. They will live as Meghan and Harry's children, loved and free. But in the official royal archives, the records that outlast centuries, their names will not be there. And that silence, that deliberate absence, will echo louder than any interview or Netflix special ever could. Years of speculation, interviews, and public drama all come to an end, not with a speech, but with documentation. The monarchy, in one of its coldest and most decisive moves, has chosen order over sympathy. For Meghan and Harry, the impact is devastating. Their brand, their entire public identity, was built on their royal connection. But once the Crown withdraws that legitimacy, what remains? Without royal status, There are no royal rebels, only exiles of their own making. And that's the final truth. The monarchy didn't argue. It didn't shout. It simply acted. And in doing so, it reminded the world of one unshakable rule. The crown does not bend for personalities. No matter how famous, no matter how loud, in its silence, Buckingham Palace has delivered what may be the coldest message in its history. A reminder that legacy, not emotion, rules the throne.